Alright, on to 4 o'clock. Oh my god, Minorikawa looks kinda knackered, doesn't he? Anyway, we have a TBC here. We have a TBC here. We have a TBC with Maria. Let's just see. Something should have changed for Kano since Minorikawa didn't die. So let's see if this really did change anything. I mean, he did still encounter him, right? And anyway, suddenly a boom as loud as cannon fire shook the area. Something's wrong, Kano thought. That's no ordinary city noise. No, you're right, it's an explosion. A column of black smoke rose up from between 2 nearby buildings. Passers-by stopped and stared, gasping in alarm. So we will hear his conversation with Stanley firsthand. Fucking Stanley's a giant compared to these Asian people, isn't he? And he really looks out of place. It's so weird. He looks like some kind of Hollywood action hero. Then Kano saw flames. This hadn't been an accident. Someone had set off an explosion. The Shibuya precinct wasn't too far from here. Kano recalled the attempted bioterrorism attack on Kazumi Gazeki, which is exactly the same as Minorikawa was thinking about, right? That incident had begun with a van exploding outside of the Tokyo MPD station. Already a large crowd of onlookers was gathering. Shouts rose up as they took in the scene. What's going on? What happened? That car is on fire. Kano called into HQ, then quickly slipped around to the back of the burning vehicle. It was a minivan. Peering at the flaming chassis, he could see that there was someone inside. Oh no, could that be Hitomi? Once they had their hands on the antiviral, the criminals would have no further use for Hitomi Osawa. Already the body had been charred to ash. At this point, it was hardly recognizable as human anymore. Jesus. I mean, burning to death must be really fucking horrible and disgusting. Oh, look, it's a keeper. That quick. Where do we jump to Kano? Oh, maybe with Minorikawa, right? There's a jump here. Man in a business suit. Of course, I remember. It's been a while since I last played this, but I do remember this part. A man in a suit, flashing his badge. Let's jump to Kano. Several people were on the ground nearby, evidently injured by the explosion. A girl in a hoodie was crouched among them, doing her best to tend their injuries. Miku Morita, while walking along, upset at Minorikawa for not introducing her to an Aiki Jujutsu dojo. She happened across the aftermath of the minivan explosion. Unable to stand idly by when faced with such a horrific scene, she pitched in as best as she could to help the wounded. There's another jump for Minorikawa, but we cleared him, didn't we? It's kind of weird that you jump from A to B. Kano recognized her as the girl he talked to earlier during the traffic jam. Maybe because she's fucking beautiful? Police, he announced. Get back, let me handle this. The girl was visibly relieved. Help her, she said. She pointed to a figure lying on the sidewalk a short distance from the burning minivan. Help who? It was a Middle Eastern girl. She appeared to be unconscious. Oh, it's Kanan. Also, another cutie. This game is full of them. I think she got hurt rescuing another girl about college age, the girl in the hoodie said. A college-aged girl? Where did I hear that before? That might be Hitomi, of course, because there are no other college-aged girls in the whole of Shibuya. What happened to the girl she saved? Kano asked. The good Samaritan looked around. Huh? Where'd she go? The rescuee had disappeared. This girl here, the girl in hoodie gestured towards the fallen girl. I can't believe how fast she was. She spoke with a hint of awe. The way she moved to get to that other girl. She was on a level way beyond mine. Kano took another look at the injured girl. Her figure looked rather delicate. It was hard to believe she was capable of great feats of athleticism. He started toward her, but Stanley stepped ahead of him. Oh, he has to know her. Leave this one to me, he said. He knows her. He knows Kanan. His expression was unusually stern even for him. Do you know her? Kano asked. The American didn't answer as he checked the girl's pulse and then her pupils. Maybe she's working for him, but then again, why would she warn Maria from Stanley? Hey, Stanley, don't you have other things you should be doing? Stanley snapped. Wow, fine then. Kano decided to collect some eyewitness accounts. Don't just leave him alone with some cute-looking girl. This could be your chance, Kano. Come on, Rumi's dad is a fucking asshole. Just dump her. Patrol cars and ambulances arrived at the scene in a steady stream. Once the vehicle fire was under control, things gradually began to calm down. Several officers worked to cover the area around the burned minivan with a blue top. Kano got his questioning underway, starting by flashing his badge at the man near the front of the crowd. Yep. Excuse me, would you mind answering a few questions? The man puffed himself up. How about you answer wait, it's me in recover. How about you answer a few questions for me? Was this an accident or an attack? We still don't know many details, Kano admitted. The man shoved his fingers in Kano's face. Let me rephrase that for you. This is a major incident. Huh? I've been around the block a few times, and I know all your police PR lingo. And when you start talking about the details, that is 100% indicative of a major incident. Well, I sure picked the wrong guy to try and talk to. Stifling his frustration, Kano continued his questioning. Did you happen to notice anything unusual prior to the explosion? Unusual? Now that you mention it, I think I heard a cell phone ringtone. A ringtone? No, never mind, forget that. There's no way a ringtone on someone's phone would be audible through all of that. The man was probably right, but somehow the idea nagged at Kano. He jotted down a note in his pad. Ringtone. Kano. It was Stanley. Perfect timing. Thank you for your cooperation, Kano told the man. Then he hurried on his way. Little does he know that Minorikawa will fucking eavesdrop on him in just about 2 minutes. Stanley stepped in close enough to whisper. Who was that guy? An eyewitness to the explosion, apparently. Did he have any info? He said he heard a cell phone ringtone at the time of the explosion. Not sure if that's significant though. Stanley stood silently for a moment, thinking. What about that girl? Kano asked. Has she woken up? No. I'm going to drive her to the hospital. Oh, sure. Huh? Why do that yourself? Just look around, Stanley said. He cast his eyes out over the scene. There were still many injured people lying on the roadside. It seemed the authorities hadn't sent enough ambulances. But isn't your car back in Maruya Machu? Kano asked. Under the circumstances, I think it makes sense for me to go back for it, Stanley replied coolly. Besides, I have a few things I'd like to ask. Kano was curious. You do? He asked. Oh, what's that? Stanley's cell rang. Yes, Stanley answered the phone in English. As he listened, his demeanor changed. The blood drained from his face and his hand began to tremble slightly as it gripped the phone. Kano had never seen him this shaken up. You got it, Stanley said at last. He hung up the phone and let out a sigh. What is it? Kano asked. Stanley headed into an alley without responding. Kano hurried after him. Once they were out of earshot of the crowd, Stanley finally spoke. Itty bitty biggy titty? That call right now was from Gordon, my superior. He broke off there and for a long while was silent. He appeared to be struggling with some strong emotion. Oh, that's unusual. Kano was getting impatient. What is it? If you're going to tell me something, then tell me. Kano decided not to press. If it's that difficult to talk about, you don't have to. Let's be sensible here. You don't have to. No, Stanley said. I should tell you this. He braced himself before continuing. We were contacted on our end by the mastermind of this plot. What? The mastermind himself? What's his name? I forgot already. Kanan told us. Those international criminals you mentioned? Correct. Roughly 8 hours ago. They infected Maria Osawa with the UR virus. Then, they let her loose somewhere in Shibuya. Hold on. By you mean... Kano thought back to his earlier conversation with Stanley. Oh, now it makes sense, of course. We heard this earlier, and I was thinking that maybe they got the names mixed up with Hitomi and Maria, because Hitomi is the antiviral carrier, but if they also infected Maria, then Maria is the viral carrier. She's the fucking disease walking around. Interesting. Kano thought back to his earlier conversation with Stanley. These criminals were trying to get their hands on a new drug, an antiviral drug developed by Kenji Ozawa that had been shown to be effective against the Ua virus. Stanley hesitated before continuing. This is a killer virus with a 100% mortality rate once it takes hold. Kenji Ozawa's antivirals are only means of combating it. A mortality rate of 100%? It has an incubation period of 12 hours. In another 4 hours, Maria Ozawa will go symptomatic. After that, she'll begin spreading the virus through the city. Wouldn't it be easier to just shoot her on sight? Or maybe that's what the detective is trying to do now. It's capable of airborne transmission? We don't need to read that. We all know what this is, right? Stanley nodded. If we don't administer Kenji Ozawa's antiviral before she develops symptoms. Yes? Kano's voice was trembling now. Stanley spoke with complete certainty. Everyone in Shibuya is going to die. Dun dun dun! Well then, we need to find Maria Ozawa and get the antiviral to her as soon as possible, Kano said, panicking. Stanley remained cool. Just calm down, there's more to the story. Stanley was interrupted by a strange sound from the upper floors of a nearby building. Of course, we know it's Yanagishita. Unsure of what it was, the two men hurriedly relocated. So what? Oh, okay, we do actually keep talking, apparently. Okay, they paused when they came to a vacant lot. The place was deserted, no need to worry about being overheard here. You said there was more to the story? Kano prompted. The antiviral in question is stored in Kenji Ozawa's laboratory. The lab is protected by a sophisticated security system, and apparently the storage area where the drug is kept requires fingerprint authentication from both Osaka and Tanaka. What? But Tanaka's... Kano couldn't help but gasp. Tanaka was currently a fugitive, the prime suspect in the kidnapping case. There was no chance of getting any fingerprint authorization from him at this stage. Is there any other way to get in? Kano asked. The door can also be unlocked via a password in place of the fingerprint scanner, but we'd still need to know what Tanaka chose for his password. No. In any event, Stanley said, it's essential that we track down and secure Maria. But, he went on, his voice grave. Even if we get Maria to safety, the mastermind is now in possession of the Ua virus. Where do you even get that from? It's not like you can just get to your nearest 7-Eleven and buy a bottle of Ua, right? If they want to, they can unleash a bioterrorist attack on Shibuya at any time. Yeah, that's some kind of weird elaborate plot that they're doing with Maria here. If they could just explode a bomb like that, like they did earlier, why go through all of that trouble? To put it bluntly, the lives of every man, woman and child in the city are in their hands. Kano felt a pulse of fear deep enough to give him vertigo. He slowly tilted his back. What? He slowly tilted his head back, I guess, and gazed at the sky, vast and blue as always. There had to be tens of thousands of people in Shibuya right now. Rumi and Shizuo were among them. And they might all be dead within a day. Actually, Kano, what about Sasayama? What about him? Yeah. It felt so unreal, Kano's mind almost couldn't process it. With an effort of will, he shook himself out of his daze. Now was no time to waver. We have to try, he said. In the next 4 hours, we need to find Maria Ozawa. And figure out a way to stop this mastermind and the Ua virus. The words were as much for himself as they were for his companion. Let's do this, Stanley. We might not always see eye to eye, but together, I feel like you and I can find a way. But Stanley averted his gaze. My job here is simply to apprehend the mastermind. Kano felt a resurgence of his earlier anger at Stanley. Once again, he was putting his duties above human life. I'm sorry. Stanley's voice was a quiet mutter. But Stanley, your best chance to find the mastermind is to foil his plans, isn't it? You should get away from Shibuya as soon as possible, Kano. Kano hadn't imagined that the American would ever be worried for him. Yeah, that's weird. I appreciate the warning, he said, but I'm seeing this through to the end. This isn't the sort of thing you can solve with just an effort of willpower. Even so, giving up isn't the Japanese detective way. Stanley let out a nasal chuckle. Back to that again, are we? Same to you. Kano managed a tiny chuckle of his own. Listen, Stanley went on after a moment. This is just between you and me. The mastermind behind this kidnapping case is an arms dealer who goes by the name Alfred. Did he get that information from Kanan? Beyond simply selling weapons, illegal arms dealers are also frequently involved in smuggling weapons unlawfully obtained through deals with government or military contacts. In recent years, such enterprises have become increasingly globalized. Some dealers form smuggling networks that also deal in money laundering, drug trafficking, and more. Alfred? 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 The attempted bioterrorist attack on Kazumi Kazeki, a hotel bombing in Chicago. Alfred had a hand in all of them. What do you know about this criminal? Kano asked. Stanley's expression grew even darker. He looks like a caveman. Alfred's signature is extremely meticulous planning. But I don't mean meticulous in the same way you or I might normally think of it. Their plans are perfectly imperfect. They're like the Joker, I guess? Do you get what I mean? Kano shook his head. Alfred deliberately engineers accidents to make things complicated and unpredictable. It's difficult to get a good grasp of what's going on when the situation seems to be falling apart. People tend not to consider that coincidental mishaps might be anything but. In the end, they don't even realize they were playing right into the mastermind's hands all along. Kano could hear the intensity in Stanley's voice. He also didn't quite understand what he was talking about. At least that's how I feel. I'm afraid that's all I can say. Stanley held out his right hand. See you around, Kano. If we're still alive. If we're still alive. Kano let that sink in for a moment. Nah, I'll shake your hand after we finish this case. With a slight smile, Stanley withdrew his hand. Then the two bumped fists instead. Oh, come on, Stanley can't be a bad guy. Look at this. Why is Kanan wary of him? Is it because she knows that he wants to apprehend Maria? Because Maria has the virus? But does Kanan know that Maria has the virus? Is this the reason why she... Oh, fuck, what if Kanan is one of the evil guys, actually? Only just dawned on me. Oh, God. I'm not sure. Who's good, who's bad? I only know that Minarikawa is my boy. Alright, we'll meet again, Kano. I'm sure of it. Yeah, see you then. Oh god, what if actually one of the protagonists is the mastermind? I think I've said this before, right? And then I dismissed it with, but we're seeing all they're doing. But this could be just another case of unreliable narrator, right? Do you get what I mean? No sooner had Stanley departed than Kusei's voice came in over the wireless. Attention all units! As of now, further investigation on the kidnapping case is suspended. The director's voice sounded strangely cold and high-pitched. I repeat, as of now, further investigation on the kidnapping case is suspended. Wait, hold on, sir, Kano shouted. What is it, Kano? Could you let us know why? We've received information that Maria Osawa has been infected with an unknown virus and has been released somewhere in Shibuya. That matched up with what Stanley had said earlier. An anti-bioterrorism security force will probably be deployed in Shibuya. This is no longer a simple kidnapping case. Our part in this is finished. No, it's not. We haven't managed to resolve anything. Kano, I assure you, everyone else feels the same as you do. Kusei's voice had a cautionary tone. They are still performing the autopsy on the body found in the blue minivan that exploded. I'll let you know once we have a positive ID. Kusei out. Director. But the line had already gone dead. Left at a loss, Kano gazed out at the cityscape. The sight of the bombed vehicle had calmed down briefly, but now that the news networks had begun reporting, the herd of onlookers was growing. There was also a sizable crowd gathered outside of a large home electronics store. What? The large LCD televisions on display were showing a press conference being held by the governor of Tokyo. Kano might learn something new about the case. He decided to watch the broadcast. Kano's part in this was over. He had to hurry and find Rumi before it was too late. Are you fucking serious? No. Fuck Rumi. Later tonight, hopefully. Kano might learn something new about the case. Let's watch the broadcast. Working closely with the administration, we are keeping a careful eye on the situation as it develops. The governor's expression was solemn as he spoke. The moment he finished his statement, the reporters bombarded him with questions. This seems similar to the bioterrorist attack on Kazumi Gaseki 2 years ago. Is there any possible connection? What countermeasures do we have in the event that Shibuya is the target of bioterrorism? The governor was visibly disconcerted. If this does turn out to be a bioterrorist attack, we will establish emergency shelters, with a large-scale quarantine station at Yoyogi Park. However, there are still many details that remain unknown. The politician was clearly struggling to maintain his composure. Can you comment on the rumors we're hearing that Shibuya might be blockaded off? Don't be ridiculous, the governor barked. What outlet are you with? Are you trying to start a panic? Oh, what outlet are you with? Are you trying to start a panic when we don't even know all the details? Besides, it wouldn't even be possible to blockade the whole of Shibuya. The press conference continued, the governor and the reporters locked in a belligerent back and forth. Right, this is no anime, you can't just blockade a whole district. Kanu left the electronics store and headed for the cafe where Rumi and Shizuo were waiting. What? Was this another non-decision? He had to tell them both to get far away from Shibuya.